Friends, I know that the coronavirus continues to have an impact on the way that we live our lives. And I know that a lot of people are fed up being told what they can and cannot do. But I think we need to be patient just a little while longer. And I want to encourage you today because it was also in Jesus' day, they didn't have a coronavirus, but they had a problem. They had a pandemic going around in society. And I don't know if you've been tracked or traced yet, but in Jesus' day, there was concern about being contaminated by sharing a meal with tax collectors and sinners. I like Mel read from the New Living Translation. And the reason was because this week, as I read in this translation, I liked the words that it says. It says that Jesus was talking and eating with tax collectors and other disreputable sinners. And then it says this, which I think is lovely. It says, there were many people of this kind among Jesus's followers. Jesus attracted people. He had a magnetic attraction to people who society liked to tell didn't really fit in. Crowds were coming to him. They were drawn to him. And he showed love, an incredibly intimate love, by not only talking to them, not only reaching out to them, not only listening to them, but by sharing a meal with them. Friends, the religious folk in Jesus' day felt that they could be contaminated by such people. The New Living Translation again says, the religious folk asked, why does he eat with such scum? Friends, as strange as it seems to us, the religious leaders, the religious folk of Jesus' day were frightened of being contaminated. To them, it was just as dangerous as COVID-19. To even eat in such a person's company could contaminate, they thought, their clothes and their plates and dishes. It could contaminate the room that they were in. We were watching something on the television the other night about the Black Lives Matter and how segregation is still causing a problem in this world today. And we were dumbfounded as we just sat and watched how black and white people were torn apart. They weren't allowed to drink from the same water fountain. They weren't able to go into the cinema together. They weren't able to sit in the same parts. And it just seems in so many ways in these challenging times that we Christians have a great opportunity to reach the lost people, people who have been divided by society, people who need to know just how much God loves them and longs for them to know him, whatever the colour of their skin, whatever their faith, whatever their background. Jesus spent time with those who were considered to not fit in. In his book, More to Life, Dennis Pethers says that, to be honest, the Christian life becomes dry and stale if it is just about going to church. He continues, I find that when I am in my comfort zone, it doesn't take long for my faith to shrink, to become less urgent and real. But, he says, when I am in situations where faith is all that there is to count on, that's when it grows, and that's when it becomes so rewarding. I don't know if you've formed a bubble yet. That seems to be the word that's in fashion at the moment, getting into a bubble. But that is exactly what the Pharisees wanted to do. It's exactly what they were aiming for, to associate with others only like them. The Orthodox in Jesus' day were afraid of being polluted by sinners, and they behaved a bit like a doctor who refuses to attend a case of coronavirus unless because he's frightened that he himself might contract it. Doctors on the front line put themselves in danger in order to bring love, in order to bring healing, and in order to help, often with little thought of their own health or with themselves being contaminated. The Pharisees thought about this all the time. The great missionary C.T. Studd had 4 lines which he loved to quote, and I think they're just amazing lines. And he said this: "Some want to live within the sound of church or chapel bell, but I want to run a rescue shop within a yard of hell." A rescue shop. Is that how the church is seen by people who are told they don't fit in? I know that I'm always making mistakes. And I remember on one occasion when I was struggling in my faith and asking God to forgive me for my failures in the past, even things that I did before I became a Christian. And straight away, I felt led to a book that was on the shelf. It was just one of those moments where I seemed to look up and see this book sitting there. It was a book on theology, and it's by a man called Michael Lloyd. And he talks about his church upbringing. And he says this: if the church that I was raised in had a fault, and it did, it was precisely that it did not allow for mistakes. It demanded that you get it right first time. And if you did make a mistake, you lived with it and you were doomed to be sad, at least for the rest of this life. A serious mistake left a permanent mark that you wore, like the one that Cain carried after he'd killed his brother Abel. Friends, I have seen that mark on so many people. Homeless people, addicts to drugs or alcohol, those living with guilt or regret. I've seen that mark on parents who feel that they've failed. I've seen that mark on people who are divorced and on the unemployed. And I've definitely seen that mark on those of us who had big dreams that have never come about. Friends, we need a theology of brokenness, a theology that teaches us that God does not give up on us just because he doesn't think that we meet his requirements. He doesn't just give us one chance, but every time a door closes in our lives, he opens up another for us. Friends, I want to run a rescue shop within a yard of hell, to develop ways of rubbing shoulders with people who need Christ's help. There's a true story of a woman in the Dock district in London. Some years ago now, she went to a church, to a women's meeting. She had been living with a man and she had a child by him. And she rather liked the meeting and she came back and back again. And after a few weeks, the vicar came up to her and he said this: "I must ask you not to come again. The other women," he said, "say they will stop coming if you continue to come to this meeting." She looked bewildered and she said, "I know I'm a sinner, but isn't there anywhere that a sinner can go?" Friends, that is why Jesus attracted people, because he came to seek and save those who were lost by setting up a rescue shop within a yard of hell. And that rescue shop is meant to be the church.